When we play Vitality third map, and we were losing, but they didn't get the 16th round yet. Like until then, I was just like, I didn't think about that. Oh, we're out. I didn't think about, oh, this is my last game. I was just like, keep playing. And then when they hit the third map, 16th round, and that's where I got like big struck in my chest, Fuck, this was my last game with the boys.
Yeah.
And then I was like really sad.
Well, back again, picking up where we left off in part 1. So just to remind you where you were in this journey, Erkast, you've just added Malta to Grayhound and you've just moved into the gaming house, right? So now we're at the point of 2018, early 2018 in May, where IEM Sydney 2018 starting to roll around. So this is now your chance to come and compete at an IEM Sydney. You clean sweep the qualifier, you get a 2-0 over Legacy, you get a win over Chiefs as well, and you finally qualify for an IEM Sydney. I say finally, right? You only missed 1 year, so it hasn't taken that long. But is it kind of a big deal to you to be able to compete at an IEM Sydney?
Yeah, of course, that was a big deal because like back then, like you didn't get the chance like to travel like to play in a tier 1 tournament that much, and because of IEM Sydney, like all the good teams, all the good players were coming towards Australia, and then it was just like kind of like like happy thing to be a part of.
Yeah, I can imagine so. Now, one thing that I'm sure you're very, very happy about was the win over SK. Now, I've spoken obviously to Malta and to Dexter, and I continue to bring this up in all of my interviews in that I almost feel like this result kind of ended SK's career in a way. Like, if you look at what SK was prior to losing to Grayhound versus what they were after losing to Grayhound, it's totally 2 different teams. So are you sort of on the same train of thought as me, or do you not give yourself that much credit?
I actually think the same way as well because before like IEM Sydney, that was 2018 IEM Sydney, right?
Mm-hmm.
That IEM Sydney, SK was the expected team to win the whole tournament because they won the last one and they were also like had their meta going. So yeah, they're the best team in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that they were kind of struggling though up going into that tournament? Because I think from memory they had some pretty rougher sort of results just before that tournament, but they weren't like, no one was like, oh, they're donezo. It was just like, well, this is a bit interesting.
Maybe that was an event for them. Like if they're gonna win the event, they're back on track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Before they went, they were just kind of losing it, and then they were okay, guys, let's do it in IEM Sydney. Back to back IEM Sydney, let's go, and then we just knocked them out.
Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This was actually like the first sort of tier 1 team that you had ever beaten, right?
Yeah.
Someone outside of the Asian region,
yeah,
that kind of thing. So it's kind of a big scalp for Grayhound to get. And for the team mentality, does that like give you a lot of a boost? Maybe does that make you think like, okay, maybe we can actually make it to the arena, or did you already think that you could make it to the arena?
I don't know if I thought about the arena, but I was just like so happy that we beat this gaming. I think like the satisfaction level was already there. So yeah.
All right. Well, you beat SK Gaming. You knocked them out of the tournament. That's big deal. Everyone's really fucking hyped about Grayhound at this point. And then you have this match against FaZe. Now, FaZe is like, it almost feels like FaZe is that last hurdle, right? Because if you beat FaZe, then you have to go up against the winner of Cloud9 or Order, which the perception was this was a weaker side of the bracket should you be able to get through FaZe. So you beat them 16-14 on Mirage in the first map, and then you sort of go into Cache. You do lose on Cache. To my understanding at the time, Cache was not a map that you guys had, too far up in your map pool, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Dust 2 then, all right, this is where things get pretty interesting because Dust 2 we know is a map that has been historically quite a good one for Grayhound rosters. You're in a position where you could actually win, but then there's this eco round that you play, or FaZe plays. You guys are on a gun round. You just lose this eco round. Do you remember the round that I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember. Nico from short 8 Dust 2.
So what are your thoughts while this round's kind of happening? Can you talk us through how that round played out?
Oh, like I can't remember detail, but when you mentioned like eco round we lost on Dust 2, I just immediately like Nico Dust 2 short, and I think Grat was holding from like car on from the next to ramp, and then I just remembered the round. Like I just remembered the first shot Nico did. doof with Deagle, and then like Gratis down, and then you know after that they just run in, planted bomb. Like thinking back now, like we still could have like won that round 4v5 because it's still an eco round if we used our utility properly, you know. But then like we were just like, oh, 4v5, no, and then they were just like, you know, picking towards city, picking long and stuff. They were just like using their individual skill to just like close it down. So
Is there like a mental aspect to that kind of a round where when you lose that first player that, you know, like maybe back then, right, you're 2 years more experienced now, having played 2 years more Counter-Strike. Do you think you lose that round now if you're still playing on Grayhound, or have you learned a lot of or had
I think
experiences that you've learned that have,
like I was
you know,
the guy. My position was a guy who rotates between long and short, and guy like you know those like that's those city players who just stays in city and runs between ramp and city. Like thinking back now, like we could have like done better because like I didn't know how to use my utility properly back then. I was just like you know my strategy was just to like get in off angle and kill people if they come towards our site. But
so
now like we could have like you know deal with like because like if you come with like players like such as Nico can do damage from short A if you're just doing nothing against him. So like if we thought about it, I would have just like you know like started pressuring short a lot on that eco round, especially like not just eco round, overall whole round, whole game. I was just like pressure short a lot.
So it's a big learning experience for you, that one particular moment, or is this, you know, not a huge, like, do you ever sort of think back to that moment, or am I reading a little bit too much into it?
Uh, because it was like a long time ago, I kind of like stopped thinking about it. But I thought about this loss for a while back then,
Okay.
a few months, 3, 4 months. Yeah.
Look, at least it wasn't as bad as what happened to Order, all right? You know, you lost an eco round to FaZe, and then you
Yeah.
sort of went on
Yeah.
full tilt and lost the map. But you
But
weren't
was it
up
one with?
15-13, and you didn't lose a 1v4 against Rush. So what are your thoughts on that Order result, you know? Because, like, theoretically, there was a world where if you beat FaZe, Order actually theoretically could have beaten Cloud9 as well. So what
Yeah.
do you think about that?
I think like I was like low key because I was like their rival Order was such a good team back then because they had Lias. I can't remember who else was there. Lias,
Hats, Emag,
Hats,
Ali, and Int, I think,
Ali.
might have been the team.
Was it Siko? No Siko?
Oh, Siko, yes, definitely Siko.
Yeah,
So
so their team was so good, and I'm just adding just Liz because like he was the guy who's like actually like carrying the team a lot, and then I low-key thought like you know please don't be ahead of us, you know. So it was like kind of like cheering for them, but at the same time you don't want to be below them
So you, in
because
a
they're
way,
like
kind of wanted Order to lose that game.
yeah
Like I know what you're saying. You know, you don't want them to lose the game, but for your own self-interests,
yeah
you don't want
yeah
them to outperform you in
yeah
IEM Sydney because you're supposed to be the best team.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty rough one though for Liaz. He drops 43 kills in that map and still loses. So
Yeah,
you gotta feel pretty bad about that.
I think we were playing them and then we were hearing them behind backstage or something like that, and then it was just like you know back and forth, woo woo woo, and I just knew it was a close game, and that's all.
And then and then you saw what happened. So
And then I saw what happened, and then
yeah.
I saw detail what happened. I was like, oh fuck, that was actually like kind of sad to hear,
Hmm. I
but at the
sometimes
same
wonder
time,
like what that could have been for ANZ Counter Strike. You know, had both of you
oh,
guys managed to win
that
that
tournament
particular game.
actually like just like was so on and off, you know, like I can see the bracket now, like, and can remember now. Like, let's the first round was like us versus Cloud9. We lost 16-6, and on the first round as well, SK lost to Tyloo.
Hmm.
So it's all started from there, and then Renegades beat FaZe Clan. I would say like that was not expected as well, and then Renegades came to lower bracket, and then we had to play SK Gaming, FaZe Clan. If there was like other scenario where we face Tyloo, or instead of FaZe Clan, if you play Renegades, that would be like such a like that's how like a tournament supposed to be if there was no upsets, you know.
Yeah.
But
It's
there was so many upsets, and then like I was just thinking, man, ah fuck, we played SK Gaming, and then fuck, we played FaZe Clan. Oh fucking god. I was just like,
Yeah.
I wanna like, and then like after SK win, I was like, oh yeah, I think it's like, good, we can do it. And we even took a map from FaZe Clan as well, and that was like strong FaZe Clan as well.
Yeah, it was a strong phase. And to be honest, it looked like you could win that game. But, it's that one particular round on Dust 2 where, like, I was casting that game and I knew, like, you see Grayhound lose that round, you're like, this game is over now. If you win it, like, the thing is, like, when I'm watching games where, not necessarily just you guys, but anyone from the ANZ region, or let's just say an underdog, right? An underdog is playing a favorite. You sort of get the feeling, you get the sense that every single round matters for the underdog. But all it takes is one round for the favorite, and if they win that one round, it's like, okay, well, we're off to the races now. So that seemed like that kind of a situation to me, and you guys unfortunately lost that one important round. You get knocked out of the tournament. Fair enough, though. Still a pretty good performance, and better than what we saw from the Aussie teams at IEM Sydney 2018, to be fair. So you got to be taking heart in that. It's a good result for Grayhound there. And then you move into, things like IEM Shanghai 2018, DreamHack Masters Stockholm, and you're sort of qualifying for all of these international events. I think even then you went to ESL Pro League as well. There's a lot of events in very, very quick succession where Grayhound goes overseas and you sort of stop being, you stop being an ANZ team and you start to become one of these teams that's sort of overseas all the time. Are you kind of feeling like this is a period in the history of Grayhound where you're really putting in strides and getting far ahead of the rest of the ANZ teams? Or do you even still consider yourself an ANZ team at that point?
I was still considering myself an ANZ team. We were just like ANZ team, but we were just winning the important qualifiers. We had that like opinion. We had that ideology that we should just like try to compete in the qualifiers, and if you get like extra like invitation from random tournaments, that's a bonus. But we just mainly focused on the big qualifiers and the minor qualifier and stuff like that.
Yeah, so let's talk about IEM Shanghai then. This is an event that is I think it was during the player break in 2018, where most of the top teams weren't too keen on competing. A lot of the top teams don't even want to go to China to begin with. So this is a really good opportunity for a team like Grayhound to go into what was a weaker format, a weaker competition rather. The 8 teams there weren't as strong as what they were at some of the other IEMs. But you guys kind of get knocked out in 7th and 8th. So essentially you come last. You're in a group with Boot, Gambit, and Tai Lu. And let's be real, these are teams that you could definitely beat. At the time, Boot, still pretty good. Gambit probably should be going through that bracket, but Tai Lu definitely beatable as well. Although admittedly, Tai Lu seemed to be on a bit of a hot streak at that point in time as well. So, what's the mentality like for Grayhound when you've just gone and had this awesome performance at IEM Sydney? You come into Shanghai and you just get absolutely dumpstered. So what's going on there?
IEM Shanghai was, I think it was kind of an event that like proved us that we're still a lot of practice. We still need a lot of practice. We still have a lot of space to be consistent against the good teams. I think we just learned that because sometimes like when IEM Shanghai, right, like it's kind of funny thinking back, but it's kind of good. We had an expectation to win the whole tournament from us. And when you have that kind of expectation without facing any team, you just kind of like, not in the right mindset. You're not at the present. You're just thinking in your mindset is in the future. And then when it's in the future, like let's say we're already we're thinking like we can win the event, right? And then let's say you start the game in the group stage. Who we started against? There we go. We started against Halo and we lost the opening match 16-10. And like let's say we lose that game and the whole that like imagination would just disappear. And then you just get that like vibe feeling in the team where it just everyone just like becomes quiet, like that like weird and weird awkward like moment between each other. And then I think that's just you just lose the hope. I think we should have went there to that event just like thinking, okay, we're still shit guys, we're just underdogs. And then if we had that mentality, I think we would have performed better than this one.
To be fair, you got a little bit unlucky as well because not only did you lose to Tai Lu, which was again theoretically a winnable match for you, but Boot also beat Gambit, which you know, I probably wouldn't have expected Boot to beat Gambit, and then obviously that means that you have to face Gambit in the elimination match. Overall, pretty rough run for you guys there. You also go to things like DreamHack Masters Stockholm, not a great performance there, 13th, 16th. ESEA Season 29 Global Challenge, where you make 3rd, 4th, but the competition isn't too strong there. PLG Grand Slam, 9th, 12th. So overall, I mean, yes, you're going to these international events, but you're not necessarily having sort of any breakout performances per se. One sort of part of this period, though, is the time where Sterling gets added to the roster. So what's the thought process behind adding Sterling to Grayhound at that time? Obviously, Gratisfaction's departing.
Yeah, after Grat left, we had there was a lot of theory going, right? Like, for example, my idea was to bring a rifler and let Chris become the opera. Because when you play Pug with him, when you play just normal like APL and stuff, you can see from Chris that he has some like inner off mentality. You know, he wanted to be an opera. Like he's a good opera, right? But if he was an IGL and opera, like he would become like Fallen. Fallen was his like go-to guy. He's like his look up kind of guy, you know.
It was his
Call
Forest.
His Forest basically, because like he's such a good IGL, and when you're an IGL and when you're an opera at the same time, I think it gives a player just so much advantage when in terms of like controlling the team.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I kind of thought I low-key knew like he wanted that, but like at the same time we needed his rifle. There was no one to just fill that like his rifle gap. So like first we talked with Ains, we talked with even Hats, and then we just like she didn't go well, and then we even tried to talk with Simon, I think, but Simon was in Trident. It was a new, not Trident, it was a new Tainted Minds just forming up, and then he told me that okay, we just formed a new team, and I want to see how far this team can go, and then after the whole talk, we just like, okay, maybe we just need another younger opera, and then Sterling was the best option there, and then we just asked him, and it was pretty like done pretty much easy deal with him.
Pretty straightforward for him to go from
straightforward.
the team that he was in to Grayhound. I guess I want to talk to you a little bit about Gratisfaction departing. Obviously, he was a player that you in part 1 spoke a lot about. He was someone that you seem to have a lot of respect for and someone that you really wanted to play with. So for you individually, like, did that have an impact on you at all? I mean, obviously it impacts the team, right? Losing someone like Gratisfaction, but was he a big loss for you as a person?
It was a big loss for me as a person. Not just me, it was just a big loss as a team, because in game and out game, like he had like such an important role. Out game, he's such a cool guy to hang around, and in game he had that. He was just basically a clutch player, not just an opera. He was a clutch player, and it was like comfortable to play around him because we played for a while, and like every opera has a different style, and then I just like didn't want to have a different opera, stuff like that, and yeah, it was kind of like big loss.
You still keep in touch with Gratisfaction?
Yeah, we still talk a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Talk shit about back in the days.
Maybe one day there'll be a reunion. Who knows? Okay, so let's move then to IEM Katowice 2019. And this is, for anyone that's not aware, this is the first major that Grayhound sort of qualified for. So you get seeded into the same group as Renegades, I think, in the minor, which is, obviously kind of a big deal. What's kind of going through your mind, right? Are you, now that you've played a few minors, feeling a little bit more confident going into the minor here?
This minor, let me see. Okay, yeah, this minor was the first thing you think was there was no Tyloo. And obviously for any Australian teams besides Renegades, if you go to a minor, and Tyloo is always gonna be a problem. And there was a mindset where every minor you have Renegades, Tyloo, Renegades, Tyloo, Renegades, Tyloo. And the mindset was like, okay, like these two are probably gonna win, blah blah. But when there was no Tyloo, I was just thinking, okay, this is the chance maybe. And like I had like such a like, obviously there was still VG Gaming and MVP, but it was the winnable like teams. comparing to Tailu. So we went there pretty like confident, and yeah, it was a good confidence.
Okay, so I always like to sort of hype up this, or I liked to back in the day, hype up this match between MVP and Grayhound because this was a match that we saw quite a lot, particularly within the Asia region. You guys were seeming like you constantly were fighting for spots, or you seemed to be running into each other when you did go overseas. So, what was this matchup like for you against MVP PK? Because I think you did end up playing against them. Yeah, you did in the playoffs. You got a 2-1 over them in the semi-final. In the upper bracket. So I almost always felt like MVP kind of had a little bit of a leg up over Grayhound. But it seems like from my conversations with Malta and Dexter that they didn't really feel like MVP was that big of a concern for you. So, you sort of allude to the fact that Tailu's always going to be a question mark, but I've sort of put MVP in that ballpark for Grayhound in particular. I don't think it was a matchup that Grayhound enjoyed all that much, but you want to tell me what was at least the difference here at the Asia Minor, because you beat them this time at least?
With this, with the MVP, I think like MVP is a kind of a team who brings a lot of new stuff in the in tactical wise. Let's say they like to play nuke a lot, and then when we play nuke against them, there was like always like new strategies. Like, damn, like obviously back then they had solo. I don't know if in Katowice they had solo, but just before that or something like that, they had
were playing
solo.
with solo, and they had Termi as their coach.
Yeah, and then like maybe because of that, like they always had new strategies before, and then like when I've like let's say first few games against MVP, they just doing the new strategies and then like new style, and we were just like it was just so difficult for us to play against them because we were just like can't predict what they're gonna do next. But we played against them for a while, right? Like a couple of events, and I think in Katowice, me personally, I just like knew how they were playing and kind of knew what we're going to do like this round. And I think because of that, it was just kind of comfortable to play against them. It was like not a big issue because we played them for a while and we know all the like secret strategies they have. And maybe this event they didn't have any of those or something. And we also grew as a team as well, so I think it wasn't a big issue.
Okay, well, that's very contrary then to what you would have had to deal with against Vici, right? Because you go through to the upper bracket final, you lose 2-1 to Renegades. Probably the expected result, though you might have entertained a possibility of going straight through to the major as the first seed. To be fair, you only lost on case 16-13, so a pretty close game. Either way, you drop down back into the lower bracket final, and this is where you're going to face Vici. And so you guys have never actually played Vici prior to this point. Are they kind of in that similar discussion as to what Tailu was as being one of the Chinese teams that seems to be a problem for ANZ teams? Or did you not have as much of a maybe fear per se of Vici?
I kind of didn't fear VG at all because there's a big, massive difference between VG and Tailu. And VG, I would say they're kind of a team who is closest to like Europe style, not Europe style, I would say. They're just like really tactical team. And you look at their games, right, and then you can say, okay, if they're gonna do default smoke on Mirage, I have two strategies from there, either A execute or B execute. And then, like let's say we've placed a play against them, they're gonna do some smoke, and then we just think, okay, they're gonna do A execute or B execute. So it was kind of predictable. So like both sides on CT, just like two sides on CT, like A, B, you just like be ready for them. And then let's say if the A execute comes around, you just like, just molly palace ramp and just like be ready. Or if they come to B execute, we just like overrated towards B, so you can have trades going. So I think it was just like that. So it was kind of predictable, I think, except Dust 2 game. Dust 2 game was just like pure back and forth game. And yeah, we just we just played better that day.
How do you guys like prep for a team that you've never played against? Are you watching a lot of demos there, or what's the idea?
Chris is the one who watched a lot of demo, like just because he was the IGL, and I think Chris is kind of a player who needs like information for himself as well to do his style, he do his thing. I was like kind of like similar with Chris, but I would just watch my part, you know. Like let's say I'm playing like Dust 2, like CT, like I want to know what's the weakness in me to B smoke. I would just like find some detail, but I wouldn't like talk about that like detail to my team. I would just listen what Chris is talking about, and then when we played the game, I would just like do my thing, what I watch from them. So
Must be a lot more fun being not the IGL, because if you're the IGL, you have to worry about everyone else, and if you're not, you just do your own thing.
yeah.
Okay, so you qualify for the major, then you beat Vici here, and this is I assume probably the highlight of your career, right?
Yeah.
Or at that point, the highlight of your career. You qualify for the major, you got your sticker in. Like, what's the best thing? Is the best thing having the sticker in the game? Like, because I want to understand this from a player's mentality, right? Is it okay to be able to say that I played at the major, or is it to be able to have a sticker in the game that you are now represented in the game for eternity? Like, what's the biggest deal about qualifying for the major for a player?
Firstly, like for me personally, I was just so happy because I played few minors, and then I think that was my fourth or third minor.
Yeah, it would have
Maybe
been something like that.
Yeah, and then like I finally qualified to major, like challenger stage, and then that was the first thing I was happy. And then sticker was also like probably the biggest thing, because you now have your name, your signature in the gun. You can put it on the gun. So it was just so cool. Like, but I didn't had that like feeling like until they the update was released and we got the sticker, right. And we were at that time all like after the Asia minor, we stayed in Katowice for 2 weeks to bootcamp day. And then one day it was just like kind of snowy day. I remember it really well. And then we placed in a different hotel, and but we were boot camping in a hotel ESL provided, but we were like actually accommodating somewhere else. We just came there to play. And then we were just there was a snowy day. We were like walking towards the ESL hotel, and then like I think it was Malta. It was like, "Oh, you guys, there's an update!" And then I was like, "Damn, we got stickers!" And everyone was just rushing to their PC, quick update, launch the game, bam, like, and we were just like all opening our stickers. And then I got my first sticker. I was like, "Damn."
So do you actually get like? I've never spoken to anyone about this, but when you qualify for the major, do you get your stickers, like 5 or 10 of your stickers, or do you have to go and buy your own stickers?
Oh, you have to open the capsules.
Right. That's bullshit.
And then, yeah, that's kind of bullshit.
Shouldn't
but
you get like a few of your own stickers at least, right?
I think that would be great, but you just have all those like I just had like so many CAS players' signature, right?
Yeah.
Like some Taeyong, some Taeyong, some Taeyong.
So Valve is literally just like monetizing you, because they know that you're gonna want your own stickers. They're like, fuck you, you're gonna have to open these. We won't give it to you for free.
And then eventually, like some guy would like just tag you on Twitter, and then, "Hey, bro, I opened your sticker. You want it?" And then yeah. I think that's how I got my first sticker, to be honest.
Right. All right. Well, okay, that's good. You get your sticker in the game. Okay, you go to the major then. Obviously not an amazing performance at your first major. You go 0-3 in your group. Not your group, but in the group stage, essentially. Dropping to Cloud9, to Vitality, and to Fnatic. So, I mean, you're obviously happy to have qualified for the major, but did you do what you set out to do when you went to Katowice? What was the goal? Was the goal to get to the next stage of the major, or just to qualify for the major?
Serious. I would say that major was we could have like went through, in my opinion, because we were just not ready mentally, because we were there 2 weeks, right? And then I don't know, it was just some like not good vibe going on in the team for the 2 week of period, because we were just like abroad for so long. I think we stayed there overall for a month in Katowice. And then like we were just like practicing so much, and then we were just kind of burnt out and everything. And then I think at the time we kind of didn't fit with Sterling at all, because we just like told him to I think the main thing is we didn't like his style of playing back then. I saw he's playing recently and he changed a lot, which is really good. But back then he was, I would say that he was just like a binocular. What is it, binocular?
I think I know what you're trying to say, but I can't remember what the word is. Like he's
What
like
is the thing like
tunnel vision, right?
what is the thing you call it like this? Like you just like go countryside and you put you zoom the thing and then what do you call binocular?
I think, yeah. I mean, yeah. That is binoculars. Yes.
Yeah,
Telescope
like
or
just binocular, binocular.
okay.
I thought he was just like a binocular who does nothing, but he just like scopes there and do nothing.
So he just
That's
watches
what.
an angle, right? Is what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
let's
see.
say, let's say, yeah, oh man, it's kind of fun. But like, from this, you tell, okay, bro, try to pick the big guy, okay, and then he will run towards BMs, and then like after like, and then you see the time. There was like 20 seconds time. You see what Sterling doing. It's just like scoping BMs. It was kind of like that, like he had no, like operas should have their own kind of aggressiveness at some point.
Okay.
Like, okay, I'm gonna pick that guy. Can you flash me there and that? Do this for me. Like he should have control over teammates, but he never had that kind of a style.
Okay,
So
but he's a pretty young guy, right? And he's come
yeah,
into the best team in the region. He's competing at his first major. So, do you guys give him a little bit of slack there if he's not being so maybe vocal within the team? Because I can imagine it would be quite difficult as a player to jump into Grayhound, be playing with the kind of guys that are on that roster, and you're probably thinking like, I don't want to
like
fuck this
to
up.
be
I don't want to
honest,
say something that's dumb
I
or
don't.
whatever.
To be honest, like I don't think we never talked deep about that, and that was the issue.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we just thought like, okay, he's not the right guy. But maybe if we try to fix it, we probably like could have changed and fixed him a lot. But back then, I don't think we saw the like whole team thing like that. We just like wanted to, like quick fix or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what we were thinking, but he was definitely not our like, not the upper we expected.
He wasn't the perfect fit.
It wasn't the perfect fit. Yeah, that's the
Okay.
word.
So you replace him with Sicko then, and Sicko seems like he's a lot more experienced, obviously, than Sterling at this point. So does he sort of slot into the roster a lot better?
Yeah, the Siko's main difference was he was kind of needy upper from the start. He was like, do me that, give me that, push me there, do me that. So like immediately he was like big difference when it comes to like personality wise. So I think that's the part he was like, that's the part we were like wanted from the upper preview from since grad. Yeah.
Okay, how does that kind of compare to Gratisfaction then? Like, is Gratisfaction very much a needy AWPer as well, or?
Gratis, I think Sean is more like a he would tell a lot of detailed stuff. He will like control you. Like he would sometimes he's gonna be needy, but he's more like a secondary caller kind of a guy. He would like talk a lot. You're like, oh, can you do that? Because we're gonna like do something like that. He would just like do some quick explanation, and then he would just like tell his teammates to do something, and then goes like that.
All right,
I
so
don't know. There's not much difference between Simon and Grant in-game wise, but like I think that's the main difference.
I mean, they
Like
both
Sean
have a
would,
Kiwi accent, so they're basically the same person, right?
yeah, like Sean would just like control you, and Simon would just like tell you if he needs something. Like, yeah, it's kind of like they both have like good communication, so that's good.
Yeah, so you move into IEM Sydney 2019, and this is a back-to-back IEM appearance for Erkast, and you're obviously the best team in the region, so expectations are high, particularly after what happened in 2018, where you were able to get that win over SK, and you went pretty close with FaZe. Think about how close you were to making it to the arena stage. So what's the mentality within Grayhound now? You've got your new AWPer, you must be feeling pretty good. There's kind of a honeymoon period, I imagine, where you're thinking, let's do it. Let's do it at IEM Sydney 2019. Let's make the arena. Is that the mentality?
Yep. The next IEM, we were just like so confident in ourselves because we in Katowice, even though we didn't do really well in major qualifier, in actually major challenger stage, but we had a lot of time with each other. We practiced with a lot of good teams, so we had that like actually good fundamental basic of the CS going on. So we were just so confident. Then it was also like IEM Sydney. Like IEM Sydney was different because it was kind of like good tournament for Australian teams because you were playing home. So it just like gives you different mentality. I guess let's say you go to America, right, and then you play the tournament there, and as soon as you lose that tournament, you know you're out, and if you're out, you know that you're gonna go home. You're gonna travel all the way back to Australia without any result. So that's kind of like that adds a lot of into pressure. But I'm in Sydney, right? Like if you lose, you're home. So it's kind of like
Not a big deal. You just get
it's
to
not
watch the
a
event.
it's a big deal in game wise, but at least you're not gonna waste a lot of time. Like
Yeah.
if you lose, you still can hang around with your friends,
You
and
don't
then
have 30 hours of travel and sitting in
yeah,
an aeroplane. I don't know about you. This is totally an aside, but like when I'm in an airplane, I get very sort of melancholic and I sort of think about a lot of things. Like I introspect, about my career, like what am I doing with my life? So do you ever get those kinds of moments, particularly if you lose?
yeah. Like it's like all like sad movie
Yeah.
kind of thing in the plane. You just look at
You
the
look out the
window.
window, you're like, what am I doing with my life?
What am I doing, man? Like
Yeah.
wow, we lost the round, and then yeah,
All
just
right.
like it's so sad.
Well, let's talk about some of the results that you had at IEM Sydney 2019, because you do technically get one step further than what you did in 2018. It starts off with a loss to MIBR. Seems like the Aussie teams are cursed to lose this first round game in the best of one. 16-11, not a huge deal, right? You go down into the lower bracket. This is where things get really interesting, though, right? Because you're a team that, has to play these kind of games all the time. You're always facing the elimination games. You play against Heroic. Now, this is definitely looking like a winnable match on paper. You go in there, you go 2-1. Takes a little bit overtime in the first map, 16-11, double digits in the third map there as well. But you get over the line against Heroic. I don't feel like there was that much like fanfare about this game though, right? Because I almost want to say like you weren't necessarily expected to win this game, but I think it would have almost been worse. Like obviously it would have been worse if you would have lost, but like I think there's more impact if you lose this game than if you win this game. Like if you win, it's like, oh, you know what? Grayhound won against Heroic. But if you lose against Heroic, you're out in first, you're out last place in IEM Sydney. That seems like a pretty bad result.
Yeah.
So is there like any pressure because of that? Or did you kind of go in that game thinking, yeah, this is an easy one? Or this is the first step, the first easy step?
Yeah,
it's going to get
we
harder.
were just like against Heroic, we were confident. They were not the like the best team, one of the best teams in Euro. So I think we just like knew we can like compete against them well, and there's like nothing there like there. It's not like there's so much better team than us. It's like I think for us it was equal, and if we get that momentum, we can win it. If they get the momentum, they can win it. So when the game is like tight like that, you just like go in like full focus.
Okay, then you move into the game against FaZe, which is where you get your revenge, right? It's not exactly the same FaZe, to be fair. It's FaZe using a sub.
No Nico FaZe, right?
Yeah, no Nico FaZe. You still, I think, was playing, or Yanko at this point might have been playing. I think you still only played the first day. Either way, you beat the FaZe roster 2-1. Now you're through to the qualification match. This is the game against Fnatic, the one that qualifies you for the arena. So is this pressure at an all-time high, or have you been there, done that? Is it not that big of a deal anymore?
That was, I think, like the game against Fnatic, right?
Yep.
The game against Fnatic was such a big deal because, like, now you like beat Heroic, now you beat FaZe, and then now you face Fnatic. And also, like, just quick thing as well, we lost to Fnatic on the major as well. Like, there was like the last best of 3. Like, if you lose, you're out, kind of best of 3, right? And then we lost to them on that thing, and then we're playing IEM Sydney now versus them as well. So we're like, it was kind of like, okay, kind of like cheeky revenge kind of thing. And then we went there, like, we also really wanted to be on stage as well. Like, imagine like just like you're in IEM Sydney, you're playing on the stage, and there was like people loved Grayhound a lot as well during that time. Like Ollie was like
Especially
favorite
as
Aussie
well,
player.
because Renegades got knocked out earlier. They lost to Mousesports in round 2 of the lower bracket. So you were the only Australian team that was still in the competition.
Right. So adding that, like I think we just wanted that so badly. Just
it was
like playing on
close.
Yeah, it was close. Was it close? Oh yeah, it was close. Oh man,
Oh no.
why?
So
No.
16-2 first map, okay? That's not close, right? You lose the first map, you get 2 rounds on Overpass as well, which from memory, I think would have been your map choice. It's been a map that Grayhound likes to play. So what the fuck is going on here? You lose 16-2 in map 1.
I can't remember what happened, but I remember like the biggest problem on our T side. The biggest problem was, I think, problem was such a headache. Problem was like from their city side, problem was pushing A lot. He played really aggressive, and he was just shutting down from the beginning, us from the beginning, and then I don't know why, but we couldn't
Yeah.
do anything.
He was 22-9 on CT side, so that kind of tells the story itself, I think.
Yeah.
So you must have started on T. Yeah, you started on T. You got 15-0'd on T side. I think I remember this because there's like this round where I can't remember who's casting. I think it's Sadakis and Henry G. And you guys win the pistol and you're like really pumped up. You know, you're winning the pistol in the second half and you're like making a whole meme out of it. So
You don't want to get 16 out.
yeah.
That's like kind of embarrassing.
Yeah. So then you win on Mirage 1916 in overtime. It seems like, you know, there's that mental fortitude there, at least for Grayhound. And that win makes us start to believe maybe that Grayhound can win this series, surely.
Yeah. Yeah, and then now I see result and 16-12 lost to Inferno. It's kind of sad. But yeah, I think it was really sad, but at the same time we had that little conversation because okay, our first time Sydney, we went to lower bracket and lost and we won and we got knocked. And this one we went to lower bracket, we won, we knocked out. So the next one is the one, guys.
Yeah,
If you want to
this
see
year,
like
this year, yeah.
this year was the year,
Mm.
but so sad.
So sad indeed. No IEM Sydney or IEM Melbourne this year had it gone ahead. Either way, you wouldn't have been on the roster. You wouldn't have been on the Renegades roster. So maybe it's a departure of the storyline regardless. So you get knocked out of IEM Sydney, but you must be feeling okay. At least you progressed further. You got a better result than what you did in 2018. Like you say, baby steps maybe, and it's something to take heart in. So then ESL Pro League Season 9 in Montpellier. Now, I haven't actually talked to anyone about this one, either Malta or Dexter, up to this point, because I don't think that it's that exciting of an event, right? You guys didn't really do too much. But I specifically wanted to bring it up with you because I think, based on my discussion with Dexter, this is the time where you found out that you weren't getting your visa, or like what was the time frame where you knew that you weren't going to be staying on that Renegades or Greyhound roster?
Pro League finals. Yeah, so basically I knew that I can't get visa around end of May and start of June. So
was it after IEM Sydney?
It was just let me see the schedule quickly. IEM Sydney is here. Yeah, it was after IEM Sydney.
So between IEM Sydney and ESL Pro League Season 9 finals, somewhere there is when you find out that you can't get your visa. So this is where you have, you know, you were talking to me about this on Geographically Challenged when you came on. This walk on the beach with Dexter. Do you want to, you know, I know we've obviously already talked about it, but for anyone that hasn't seen that episode, do you want to sort of tell this story? Because I think it's quite a romantic one, or romantic as you like to say.
Yeah, so Pro League finals in Montpellier, France. It was after the event. There was after party. They set up really nice like pub next to beach, and it was like kind of like 2-hour walk from the hotel we stayed. And then after the event, everyone I think there was a shuttle or something, and then Chris and I was just walking there, and we were just low-key like a bit like drunk as well. Not that drunk. We were just like a bit good vibe drunk. And then we were just like, oh, you want to walk? Yeah, let's walk. Fuck it. And then we just started walking. And for 2 hours, it was like such a nice, beautiful view. There was like sea next to us, and then there was the moon. There was the waves. You can hear the waves. And then we were just talking about the life, you know.
Okay. So
like our CS career and everything. Yeah.
Was this sort of brought on, like, what was largely the discussion brought on because of the fact that you wouldn't be continuing with the team, or was it just like a bro chat?
I think it was just like the bro chat we had. I think we actually never had that kind of a chat with Chris. We were just like we party together, we play together, we live together, but we never had that one-on-one like conversation, good talk session with each other. And then we talked there. Well, I think we just like knew about each other more on that like on that, what do you call, dialogue, conversation,
Yeah, I guess.
date.
Yeah, it really was a date, wasn't it? All right, so you know that you don't have this visa, and then you're going into the Starladder Asia Minor, right? So this is like the one last chance for the boys or whatever. I think was the meme that was put out on the Grayhound Twitter. So what's your mentality going into this event? Because I know what it's like from the perspective of your teammates, but what do you think
My
about
mentality
this?
was I wanted Greyhound to be to how you say, win challenger stage. To obviously first step was the win Asia Minor. I want the Greyhound. It was just like whole from Greyhound perspective. I wanted Greyhound to be the Asian Minor champion. I wanted Greyhound to go through the challenger stage towards the next stage, and just to do better than we did previously. That was just like all my like that was all I was thinking. And then I will just like think, okay, I'll give my best because I have nothing to lose now.
Sure.
And like, one last ride with the boys. I will give my best. Let's just have a good moment. Never regret about it. That's what I thought.
So you do inevitably go through to the major. I'll very briefly touch on the results of the minor. You get a 16-0 over Avant, which is always worth mentioning because they're the other ANZ representative. But there's that match against Tyloo where you're up 15-11 in the grand final or the upper bracket final at least. And you think you're like, okay, we're probably going to the major at this point. And then Tyloo brings it back into overtime. This is the big map on train that Malta had where he sort of dominated Tyloo. But either way, you come through and you take first place at the minor. So already a better result than what you had last year and already mission successful for at least part one of Erkast's last ride with the boys. But what is really more interesting about this trip is the results that you have at the major. Once you get to the major, you go and you play against Crazy and Fours and you lose both of those games initially. So now you're at 0-2. You're basically facing elimination. It's basically seeming like it's going to be a repeat from what you had last year at Katowice or earlier in the year at Katowice. So then you go into these games against INTZ and Complexity. I mean, you look at these teams on paper, and again, they look winnable for Grayhound. But what's the change in mentality maybe for your roster now that you are able to go into these games and you actually win them, right? Is it just because they're not as strong of a team as something like Fnatic is a tough team to beat in an elimination game? But is INTZ maybe a little bit more beatable?
Yeah, they were a bit of beatable team. I think like a whole, like all the team like were like kind of beatable for us. It was just like the matter of the momentum during the game. Like if the enemy got the good start, good momentum, they were just like rolling up, and then I think it was just like that with the whole team, with every team we played. Yep.
You even could have potentially beat Vitality in that game. Like from memory, that was a relatively close game. But obviously, you do inevitably end up getting knocked out there. 10th place, though, in the new challenges stage. So you don't quite manage to make it through to the next stage. But, I mean, how do you go out of this? Are you feeling happy with the result that you had? Because, again, this is the last tournament that you play with the roster.
I was like, I personally was kind of like upset because like I wanted to go through the next stage. So like it's good for them for the next majors because they would like, if we get the one more win, they would just get the direct invitation. And also I wanted to stay with them a bit longer. So yeah, it's kind of sad, but we did better than the previous result. So that was like something we could like, okay, at least we did better.
Was there like, when you do inevitably leave the roster, like once you've played, surely you've played your last game, right? Was there a moment where, you get a little bit emotional or anything like that? Is there a moment with the team?
Yeah, with when we play Vitality third map and we were losing, but they didn't get the 16th round yet. Like until then, I was just like, I didn't think about that. Oh, we're out. I didn't think about, oh, this is my last game. I was just like, keep playing. And then when they hit the third map, 16th round, and that's where I got like big struck in my chest, Fuck, this was my last game with the boys.
Yeah.
And then I was like really sad. But the boys helped me. They're like, so cheerful about whole situation. Like the loss is tough, but like, they knew that it was my last game, so they like helped me to like handle this well. They handled that really well as well, and then they just like helped me to go through that, and then yeah,
Obviously,
it was
a close to quite a big chapter in your life,
yeah.
obviously, and perhaps one of the most successful chapters of your life up to this point. I don't know what in your personal life, but as far as Counter-Strike is concerned, certainly. So let's just talk very briefly again about the visa. I just want to know like what kind of options were explored for you, because you were a student, right? And from what I understand, you could have continued to study, but it would have impacted. You wouldn't have been able to study and play properly, but that seemed like the only way that you could have actually stayed in Australia and stayed on this team, right?
Yeah. So the only option was for me to study and just stay, but I didn't want to study because I was like pay my tuition fee but I was just failing all the time. So it was like a lot of money invested into studying, but I was not getting anything from it. So it was just like my kind of like payment to stay in Australia, I guess.
Yeah.
So, and in the long term, I know it would just like piss uni off anyway, because like there's just like guy that sits there, pays the tuition fee, but it just
He fails
fails there.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And also like, yeah, that was the only option. And I just didn't want to study anymore. So I talked with Dave. We actually tried researching about other options to stay, but it didn't work well. So I just talked with Will and then say, okay, mate, this is it. Yeah.
That's it. All right. On to the new chapter in your life then. You return back to Mongolia. So is there a part of you that's sort of feeling like I get to go home? Is there a part of you that's kind of happy, or is it all sort of depressed mode?
It's back then, like Australia was already my like mm, my home. So
Okay.
I just like wanted to be in Australia so badly, but I thought like, okay, this is what it is. I'm just went to my family, had a few break session for a couple weeks, and then I just moved to China straight away.
So yeah, I mean, I want to get your an idea of what you were thinking after Grayhound, right? Was there ever a thought of like, okay, maybe this is now where I quit CS and I go and live a normal life, I suppose, or was the intention always to continue with Counter-Strike?
My intention was I wanted to make a Mongolian team and do what I did with Greyhound. I wanted to create a team from the scratch, and then I want to qualify for a major, and yeah, that
Okay,
was my goal.
so
That is still my goal.
the team that you formed was at the time called August. It was obviously yourself, Dobu, Cabal, Zilkenberg, and Neuz was the initial roster. So what is it about you as an individual that wants to create rosters? Because you've just said you wanted to create a roster. Why don't you just want to join a team, right?
Um, I, I don't know. I don't know why, but I don't want to like to. I don't like to like join other environment beside my like. I don't feel comfortable like playing for others. You know what I mean? But when I create like, let's say like when I like create the team from the scratch, something like it gives me motivation to practice more and more. It gives me like motivation to stay in this game, stay focused.
You feel like you maybe
So
have a stake in the race in a way, like you
yeah, it's
have
like,
something to play for in a way.
let's say like if I joined other org, another team with 4 other members, I would like, it will just kind of piss me off, because when I have no control over something, it just is sometimes people like, when people doesn't work hard, it just pisses me off. And like I can't say nothing. If I say something, it will piss other guys off, and then I will probably get kicked.
Don't want that.
Yeah.
So what's your expectations then? Obviously, you've mentioned that you want to sort of qualify for the major. Is that's basically the initial goal of this August roster, is to be able to qualify for the major?
Firstly, like I knew like from the last experience, I knew shit's not gonna world so easy. Like, okay, I'm gonna get double Cabal, Silk and Neuz, and then we're gonna practice hard, and we're gonna get major. I just had a really good expectation, and also like I'm not a young kid. I'm a bit of veteran kind of player now, so I knew my expectations. I knew like my first goal was just to build a good team with a good environment who can lose together, who can win together, and get through everything together and have an ability to stay together. I think that was my initial goal. So, yeah.
Okay, was it easy for you to get these players together on the roster? Like, I imagine Dobu was, obviously you guys are pretty good mates, but for example, someone like Zilkenberg is a very veteran player. He's been around even longer than you have. So, what's your reputation like? Do people want to play with Erkast? When you come a knocking, do people say, "Yep, I'm joining," or does it take a bit of convincing?
I think when Dopu, Cabal, and us were like only 3 players who were playing abroad, they were the 2 players who played in China. I'm not including Machine Gun, but I think he was already playing the Mongolian team that time.
Yeah, he was.
So when 3 of us was playing like abroad, and we like just released the news that we're gonna become a new team together, we're gonna create the Mongolian team, and we're gonna that when we like released the news, everyone was just like hyping that oh, finally a good Mongolian team is gonna build and stuff like that. So, and then we had us 3 had to talk with other people, and like first like I just knew that first roster was just a gamble. It might fail, but it might not fail. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about one of the results that you had with this initial roster. Then you go to Extremesland and 5th to 8th. I mean, it's not a terrible result, but it's not probably what you're looking for. But it was still pretty quite soon after you'd created this team. It was only October of 2019 when the team was formed, and then into December was when Extremesland was. So was it maybe just a little bit too soon for you guys to hit that sort of peak level?
Or
was there issues?
There was still like issues like outside the game. Like we're still not a good team yet.
Okay.
We're just like on our like honeymoon period in game wise. So like that result didn't really matter to me.
Yep.
And so yeah, I didn't really care.
Okay, well, I tell you what then happens is you go over your Christmas break. It's January 2020, and Zilkenberg and Neuz depart the roster. Now, I don't know what the circumstances are of this roster change, whether they left or whether they were removed from the roster. But do you want to shed some light onto what happened here? Because NCL and 9 obviously replaced these 2 guys, and that is now the roster that you still have.
Yeah, I think it just like it was something to do with motivation with Zilkenberg. He wasn't really focused. He was just like, let's say, he would play different games. Like he would play Dota 2 more than CS at the boot camp, and also outside the game, he wasn't that like good friends with us. He was just, he wasn't like, let's say, after the practice, we would ask him, okay, you want to have a couple of beers, and then let's just sit outside. It's good, nice outside, and he was just, nah, I'm good here, and then he would just sit there, talk with his like actual like IRL friends on Discord, and he would play Dota with them. So it just didn't really click with him, both in game wise because he had no motivation. Outside, he wasn't really great. And with Neuz, he was. I just didn't see him going that far because he was just the right hand. Like the reason why I say right hand is because he just knew how to shoot people with his mouse, but he never like critically think about like what he should do, like about in terms of learning smokes, learning tactics, watching demos. He had just like zero motivation to that. I told him like, how long did I play with him? 3 months, 4 months?
3 months, yeah.
Like I just talked with him like whole 3 months. Try to give him advice. Okay, you're a young player, you're really sharp, but you're gonna like fail if you're gonna continue go like this. And obviously, most people don't just like to play deathmatch and play matchmake face it just because it's fun. But I wanted the player to invest into demo watching, tactical wise, like more like understanding of the game wise. But like he never invested time on that, so I was like, okay, don't wanna like give too much energy for this kind of thing. It's just easier to change and get a better player.
So you got NCL and 9, and theoretically these are your better players. It's kind of where we see the results start to turn around. So was there many other players that were a potential pickup for you guys?
So like my ideology was was not happy with Double and Cobble as well, but it was just like the friendship I have with them is just kind of like wanted me to stay with them because they also have like luck in in-game like motivation as well. Like I mean I want the motivation, but they play for so long in China, but they still had no good understanding about the correct way of playing CS. They would just like focus on their aim mostly, focus on just like deathmatch too much, and they would just like slightly focus on demo watching and stuff like that. But I just like didn't want to be rough to them because they're like good players. I know they're good players, but I don't want I just like wait, I just give some advice. Okay, we should watch more demo. We should focus on that more. And they were kind of changing, so at least that helped me. But with NCL and 9, NCL is like he's not like really good in terms of frag wise, but he's similar to me because we both like to do smokes, watch games, like we watch to enjoy practice, and that more in a way of a more we just like to practice tactic a lot. And he's probably like the only player who does it in Mongolia, to be honest.
So he's the
It's kind of
IGL now as well for
He's the IGL now,
Tiger.
yeah.
So that seems like a good pickup. And then 9, you need an AWPer, and he comes into
We
the
needed
roster.
an upper, but we had the two options. We wanted Annihilation, you know him from D13,
D13, yeah.
and we kind of wanted him firstly, but NCL was already teammate with 9, and he said, "Okay, I'm joining if he joins."
Okay.
So we're like, okay, that's not a big deal because 9 is also a young player. He has a lot of room to grow up. So he's also a really nice guy as well. So bam,
All right.
everything clicks.
Seems good. And then you get this offer from Tiger as well, which is the actual organization now. So this is kind of a big deal, I imagine, for you. As far as I understand, August was just a team. It wasn't an org.
It was an org, but it was kind of fucked up org because
Okay.
they were just like two ladies, 45-year-old ladies, 50-year-old ladies, who has one of them was just rich as fuck Chinese lady, and the other one was she worked in a city, like she worked in some state government, what you say, she was in the politics something.
Yep.
Yeah, then they were two good friends, and they I don't know like how they wanted to create an esports team. And then after like 2 months they were like asking me, okay, how you run esport, and when what's the return in esport? And I was like,
Oh,
damn,
fucking hell. I just want
this
to
is
play video
hard.
games.
And then I just kind of explained that, okay, this is our like blah blah, and they just had so much. Their expectation was so high, like they invested actually so much money into us, right? Like they like we had such a good boot camp and shit, but they just like didn't know what to do with the esport team. They just created it because it was kind of trending thing,
Yeah.
And then like we had the talk, and then we just agreed, okay, guys, I think we should finish it because it's just gonna work like this because you don't know what you're running, and it's also hard for us that you guys don't know what you're running. So I think we should just end here, and then that's what the end deal was, and then we just finished.
So
And came back.
Tiger's like a legit kind of org. It seems like Tiger knows what's going on.
Yeah, so Tiger, like the person who reached us it's called Ming, and he was the ex-coach of Tyloo.
Right.
And then he just approached us and he said, okay, I have an investor, and then I also wanted to coach a team, and they approached me and I choose you guys to be my team, and then blah 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 blah, and then we agreed to that because there was actually promising company, I would say. And yeah, so as they had the long-term plan, had like actual legit project going on, so that's where I think, okay, this is legit, so I was happy with Tiger.
So they were gonna give you like a accommodation and stuff in China, as far as I understand, is the
Yeah,
idea.
so we are I think they are building an office in Shanghai right now. They're just waiting for, well, basically, like, I don't think the pandemic will finish, but um our country just closed the border right now.
Mongolia, for anyone that's
Mongolia, yeah. So I think they're just waiting for the Mongolian border to open so we can go to Shanghai. And then as long as we're in Shanghai, that doesn't matter about the pandemic. They say, I mean, they will take care of us because they're building such a nice office with all the facility, everything. So I think they're doing that. And then I think that was their plan, just to the main coach and us to just be together and then work together. But right now, it's not like working really well between us and the coach.
Mhm.
Yep.
So, okay, we'll talk about that maybe in a little bit. But for now, I want to focus on what comes pretty soon after you join Tiger. You play in Road to Rio. Now, from my discussions with you on Geographically Challenged, we knew that there was, maybe not necessarily like any real negativity around the roster, but there was this whole discussion about Smooya and Snappi that we'll briefly touch on as well in a bit.
Yep.
So I would say it was pretty important for Tiger to get some kind of good result on the board, because you've been kind of cruising through with some, I would say, subpar results based on the roster that you have. They weren't good enough for the players that were in the team. And then you come into Road to Rio and you win this event. So this is a pretty big deal, not only for, I guess, for you as a team individually, but for the perceptions of people like me and other analysts and casters and stuff like that, people that are watching. This sort of shoots you right back up to the top of the scene, where prior to that, you probably weren't even in a top 4 discussion. So what's the whole thing about this Road to Rio for you guys? Did you feel like you could come in and win this, or was this like maybe good timing because Tyloo had just made their roster changes? Vici seems to be on a downward trend. Is it right place, right time, or is Tiger legitimately one of the best teams in Asia at that point in time?
At that point, I think we actually I still didn't have an expectation to win the whole first RMR thing. It would I just wanted to see the level within our team, what we placed in. Are we a good team? Can we actually beat BG? Can we actually beat Tyloo? That was just thing, kinda. That's what we thought. And then eventually, we won the event, and we just knew okay, we can win them. It was possible, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
So you go through and you win that grand final, and now people are suddenly starting to call you the best team in Asia. I mean, what do you think about that? Is that an added pressure, or do you not really care what? For example, what if I say Tiger's the best team in Asia, which I had at that point? Does that make you feel like there's any more pressure, or do the teams not necessarily worry too much about what the storylines are outside of the team environment?
I think not just you guys, but there was the vibe in Mongolian fan was huge. They were just Mongolian back at the top of the game. The Mongols era was back. We're number one. Blah blah. But even some of us, we were just when we just talk we're number one team in the Asian stuff. But me personally, I never wanted to get that pressure because it's just I like to be humble, quiet, and then don't talk too much stuff about okay, we're number one. Too much. Don't be too much greedy and stuff like that.
And come back and blow up in your face, right?
Yeah.
So then you play the Weibo Cup, which you also win, and this seems to really reinforce the fact that you're up the top of the Asian region. And this is, again, a big tournament, not only for you guys, but then also for your organization, as far as, you told me in Geographically Challenged that this was around the time where Smooya and Snappi were still a very real discussion, and they said to you, you need a big result. You need a good result. And they didn't have as much stock, maybe necessarily, in Road to Rio, but once you won the Weibo Cup, that seemed to be the thing that changed their mind a little bit about making this roster change. So for you, was Weibo Cup a big deal?
Yeah, it was an important tournament for us because like I said, the organization wanted us to perform really well if we wanted to stay as a current roster. Otherwise, they will eventually add Smooya and Snappi in the roster. So we didn't want to lose our merit points, and also we didn't want to change the roster because, like I previously mentioned, I low-key want to Mongolian roster to go into major
Yeah.
and to be a good team in the future. And that was the like my ideology. So I just didn't. It was a good tournament because like it does let us to continue the. It just let us let our current roster continue. So
Did you ever sort of want to play like with Smooya and Snappi though? Like, what do you think that would have been like for you?
I think that would be like actually a really good experience because I personally never played with European player and I know how they look like when I face them and watch their demo, but I never know what is it like within the team, within the communication.
Mm.
So I think like that would be like a good experience for me to learn like how to play, how to communicate. I think I would have learned so much thing. So that's like I just like want to I just like really missed out, I think.
Mm.
But yeah, overall I really like to play with them.
Yeah, would have been interesting indeed. We did
Yeah.
have a big discussion about this on Geographically Challenged. I think episode 10 it was. I'll put a little annotation thing up there that'll pop up and you can click on that if you want to hear a little bit more about Smooya and Snappi. Because yeah, Erkast and I have had a big chat about that already, even including Blair, which was quite interesting actually as well. So I'd click that if you're interested. Either way, we'll move past that and talk then about PAL Summer 2020, which is your most recent competition. So first of all, I don't even want to talk about the result just yet. I want to talk about the format because this format was fucking insane. It's like 45 games in the group stage. How was it like to play? I mean, was it particularly draining for you to be playing this much Counter-Strike in the same tournament, or does it only come across as a viewer as seeming to be draining because there are
I
theoretically
think
there's 3 games a day, but you're only playing
the
one.
tournament was I think too much long, and then I just like didn't like the format as well because it was like I'm fine with like adding 2 more teams because like there's like you can't just have 8 teams for a free season going on just same tournament. I think the adding 2 teams was really good, but the format like playing with each facing all the team and then like it was kind of like seasonal thing going on. It's like really long kind of league kind of thing, and then you have out of 10 team you just have 8 teams. I mean, you just knock out 2 teams and then go to
Yeah.
the next stage. That also seemed like kind of weird. So I just kind of didn't like the pressure. I mean, I just didn't like the format at all. It was long and it takes a lot of effort. Just like, it takes a lot of time, energy.
Did it feel like
So
there was a lot of kind of pointless games?
I think I never think that. I thought like every game was like there was a point just like to get the score with each other. But when there's a 10 team, you have to play 9. Like you have to face 9 every team in the league. That's kind of like kills it. Where it kills it, I would say it's just too long, and then you have a playoff with the 8
Okay.
team.
So what was your expectation for this? Because you're technically the defending champions in an RMR tournament. So
My expectation was to win it no matter what,
okay,
and obviously didn't win.
you didn't win. So for the context for the viewers, I mean, right now this is still a pretty fresh result. So I'm sort of trying to dance around this a little bit, make it a little bit more padded, I suppose. But maybe if someone's watching this, later on down the track, Tiger plays in the quarterfinal and they lose to Beyond. Now, the context of this result is that Beyond they have been struggling up to this point, to be honest. So Tiger's been potentially, arguably, one of the best teams in the region. Beyond has definitely been on a downward trend in 2020. Seems like Beyond came really good actually in this tournament though. Like the results that they had, I'm actually really impressed with what they were able to do. So I don't know, was it Tiger underperforming? I think that has to be a yes, but I also think Beyond overperformed in a way.
I think they play really well, and after the game, the next day I just like watched it hold all the game like detail, like what we were doing, and my conclusion is there's nothing like my conclusion is just they did their job really well, and also we did job really bad, and then my like explanation is we're just not ready yet, and there's well, if we're not ready for the quarterfinal pressure, we're not ready. So I think we need more time to talk about the pressure kind of thing, because I felt the players, our players, like really had no like mental strength going into the game, and then the both all the games were so close, but for me, like, not it's not biased. I just we would have been 2-0, and it could have been like easy 2-0 for us, but we just, like, let's say, like in a important moment, someone would just like run out and die, something like that. It was that kind of game, and you ask them after the game why you did that, and it was just the reason was just, you know, I didn't know, I was not focused, blah blah, and I think we were just not ready yet.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I mean,
we
if you're
need
not
still
ready
more.
to win a
Yeah,
quarterfinal against a team like Beyond, then you're not ready for a major. Let's just say that
yeah,
much.
yeah,
And at the end of the day, this is to qualify for a major. So,
yeah.
what do you think about some of the other results that happen in this? Because the Invictus discussion has always been sort of around. We've thought they've been a pretty decent team recently. Most importantly, most interestingly, Vici seems to have sort of fallen off the ladder. Where
Yeah.
Tiger had a rough time. I think Vici also had a similarly rough time. So, what do you think
I
about Vici at the
I
moment?
think overall, like, BG is struggling because I don't want to say because I think they're just struggling. It's like that kind of a period, and I think the only two players who's playing well is Kaze and Jam Young,
Mm.
and Jam Young is obviously a young guy who tries a lot, but I think definitely Alman and Socking, they need a bit of refreshment. They need to focus a little more, because I think when you play against teams like VG, right? It's kind of like from a competitor's point of view, it's kind of makes it easier to play against them, because you know exactly what Socking and Alman is like.
Mhm.
So, but when you face Jaming, it's kind of difficult because it depends on his raw aim a lot, and then he takes a lot of random duel, which is not expected. But like when you think about Alman and Zonking, you know what they're gonna do, you know what their play style, and when you know the playstyle, you even know how they're gonna pick. They're gonna white pick or they're gonna jiggle pick or something like that. So it's kind of it gives you like kind of advantage when you know your opponent, especially when you know the small details.
Yeah.
And with the Tylo, I think they're back. They first army, obviously they changed Zeta and Freeman. They had two new. It was a fresh new roster, and then I think this army, they proved that they're the best team in Asia, and they fixed a lot of previous mistake, and they're like on point right now.
Okay. What do you think is the top three teams in Asia right now in order?
Tylo,
Mhm.
I think Tylo above everyone,
This is where it
and
gets
then
hard, right?
below that, I would say IG, VG, and us.
In that order.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Gonna have a discussion later on tonight with Blair and Pilsky about that. Although I think this In Retrospect episode, will come out after that one comes out. Either way, we'll see how it pans on out. But
Yeah.
you will have seen our opinions on that by the time you're hearing this.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the end, more
I
or
think I
less.
think maybe Beyond is really close to us,
Mm.
because yeah, I wouldn't say they're better than us, and because when I played against them, it was just my personal opinion, right? I personally felt that they were like easy readable, they were like easy to play against,
Okay,
but
here's an interesting
yeah,
question then, right? Because Beyond, yeah, they're doing pretty well. They might be a potential team to talk about in the near future, but I know there's been quite a bit of discussion from Mongolian teams about Divine Vendetta in particular. So I saw Dobu tweeting something about Divine Vendetta would have gotten
uh,
2-0'd by
yeah,
all the Mongolian teams had it not been for this ping issue. So do you want to throw your hat in the ring here? I understand this is probably a pretty
yeah. I
controversial
think
topic. So
Doubles tweet was a bit like harsh when you read it.
yeah.
It's like, oh man, why you do that? Like, but like I think like I should like just like rephrase his like quote.
Mhm.
It's been like when you play Mongolian teams, it's really hard to play for Mongolians to play Singaporean server, and and I think it's just like the style didn't fit. Like let's say they're playing on 75 to 80 ping, we play on 100 ping, and they're kind of a team who's just as they have a really quick style. Like they like to rush a lot, like overrated rush. They play it really fast. So when you like play against that kind of thing with 100 ping, it's when you hold the angle, like, and you hold an angle, someone pre-fires you and kills you. But when you see the actual game, they're just running and they killed you normally. But it looks like they pre-fired you all the time. So
Yeah.
it's like kind of makes it difficult to play, like especially hold an angle. And when in CS, if you can't hold an angle, like you can't
play.
defend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're pretty much at the end of, obviously, like, we're up to date with your career, right? So that's more or less the end of In Retrospect. I do have these bonus questions for you. I always have a few questions that I can't really weave into the conversation quite as easily. So we'll start with a pretty interesting one, right? I don't know if you're reading the document right now, but do you think you're the best player in Mongolia at the moment?
Like mechanically wise, not, because my mechanical skill is really bad.
Okay, who's better than you as a mechanical player then?
Like, there's a lot of good players like Annihilation from D13, Rate from D13, Scar from D13. I like those three guys. Like, they're really raw, they're really, really sharp. And Dobu is really mechanically better, Kabal mechanically better.
Okay.
Maybe these five mechanically better. But but I think in terms of obviously I like to check stats a lot and everything. And stat wise, on including all first armor, Weibo, and this armor, I was like the best stat in terms of the tournaments. So stat wise, I'm the best player.
Do you think you're the best, like, whole package? Like, if we consider game sense, mentality, experience, and mechanics, are you the strongest?
If you include the old stuff, like I think I'm the best player, maybe.
Okay, let's think about then historically, right? And I want to bring up the names of Machine Gun and Zilkenberg. Who's like the biggest name now in Mongolian Counter-Strike? Like, I think when I think Mongolian Counter-Strike, I think Machine Gun, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Are you in that discussion now with those guys? Like, have you hit that level where you deserve to be part of the best in Mongolia?
I don't know
kind of
what
discussion?
other. I don't think people think I'm the best in Mongolia, because like people would see the highlights and shots, aim, and stuff like that. So like I said previously, in that wise, I've never been the best player in anywhere. I was just like always the kind of player who likes to call mid game a lot and like consistent with my frags. I would get the frag every now and I wouldn't just like
Okay, well, I'm not necessarily talking about like how good you are per se, but I'm trying to get an idea of like how big of a deal is Erkast as a player, if that makes sense. Like, because everyone knows Machine Gun, everyone knows Zilkenberg. Does everyone know Erkast? You played on Grayhound, you went to majors, etc., etc.
In Mongolia? In Mongolia, yeah, people know me because they know me just because I played in Grayhound and I played in major, I got 2 sticker. They just know me for that.
Okay, so
but overall, like legendary wise, I think I'm not.
You don't think so? Yeah. You're too humble, I think, Erkast. But anyway, maybe
just
one day.
like you sometimes have to. No, Machine Gun is like legend. He played for so long and he played so well for so long. So I think no comparison with him.
Okay, no comparison, but maybe in a few years, we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, then the next question is: if you ever got an offer from a North American or European team, has it happened? And if it does happen sometime in the future, would you take it?
It didn't happen at all.
Okay.
And so yeah, maybe if it's a really good team, like by good team I mean like there's a like promising roster, I would join. And if they actually want me, I would join. Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it.
So let's talk about players then in the Asian region. We had a bit of a mini discussion about this on Geographically Challenged, where we asked if Kaze, or someone asked if Kaze would be the next Bntet. Now, you said you don't think so, at least for him, but will there ever be another Bntet in Asia?
Maybe one of those up and coming, like in when the Bntet era, like whoever played in Bntet era, I don't think there will be a new Bntet, but from the youngsters, they might come. There might be new ones. Let's say there's IG has a flying. He's such a good player, and Jam Young also a good player. I think Score or Rate is a good player. Score might be a really big thing in the future.
Okay.
He really reminds me of a Simple. When he look at him, he has really high sensitivities, really emotional, and he's so fast and stuff. And I'm not sure about the other region because I never studied them so well.
Okay.
From Thailand, I still don't know yet.
Yeah, I think it's difficult though, like when you think about the guys from China, like unless they speak English, they can't really be the next Bntet. I don't know, does Machine Gun speak English, by the way? Like I imagine he does because he went and played in Splice, right?
Yeah, he speaks English, but his English is not like really like perfect, but in CS wise, it's just enough.
Good enough
for him to play in a good CS team.
Yeah, I think that's like almost a prerequisite for like being the next player to make it out of Asia is to be able to at least speak decent English. So maybe we'll see it. Well, maybe we won't. I suppose that's a question that we'll have to answer in the next few years. One more thing that I want to sort of touch on is if you were to ever make a super team comprised of Australian and Asian players, anyone you want, aside from the people that you're on a team with right now, who would be on your team?
Am I included?
Yeah, of course. You are the team captain, so you have to be on the team. So you get to pick 4 other players.
Yeah. Okay, me.
Mm-hmm.
Dexter is an IGL. Zayn is an lurker from PTRG.
Interesting.
And Siko is an upper. And then I will pick Jamyung as a front entry kind of player. And I will be the second entry. Zayn is a guy who lurks around behind, and Dexter calls, and Simon the op.
I could kind of get behind that team if you guys were able to communicate, which obviously wouldn't really be that easy. But hey, if it works, it works. That would be cool. Okay.
Yeah.
2 more questions before we let you go. First one here is, who's the worst housemate from the Grayhound house?
It was...
or you can... Either we can do this 2 ways, Zerk. We can do, who's the worst housemate you've lived with ever? In Grayhound or in Tiger or August, if you've ever lived with them. Or we can split it, okay? So it can be the worst housemate from Grayhound.
One.
Okay.
Because it was usually me. But since I'm the one who's telling from... I think it's... Mr. Grayhound.
Oh, really?
Yeah, bro.
What did he do?
When you go to his room, oh man, he basically he doesn't clean stuff on time. He just lives there. And let's say it's a funny thing, right? We came from a tournament, and then on the next to the kitchen we have the gaming area. And he leaves their baggage right next to his PC, right? And then we have to travel after 3 weeks. And he just never picks up his luggage. He just stays there for 3 weeks. And then I would say, go, just put it in your room. He's like, we're going to travel in 3 weeks anyway.
So he just picks up the same bag and takes it again with him.
It just takes out the clothes, washes, and puts the bags just next to him. So I would say it's him.
Okay. Well, I have definitely heard stories that it was you as well, by the way, from the other guys. So
probably beside, it's just Will, because I'm the one who's like telling who's the worst housemate. But otherwise, it will be me, though.
All right. Well, then last one here, and I think I have an idea as to who this might be. But who is your favorite player that you've ever played with on a team?
Dexter.
Knew it. All right, well, that's the end of In Retrospect with Erkast, and here's your opportunity to give some shout-outs, Erk, so go for your money.
Shout out to who?
Whoever you want. I'm not the one doing the shout-out.
Okay, shout out to whoever watching, and support Elfish Guy.
Yes, very good. One thing you should do is always give yourself a Twitter plug, right? Erkast CSGO on Twitter. Make sure you follow him. Make sure you check him out. Really
Make
appreciate.
sure you follow me.
Yeah, make sure you follow him. Really appreciate the time that Erkast has been able to put in to help me out making this, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. You can follow me at Elfish Guy. Make sure you drop a like and a sub as well on the YouTube channel, because that really helps the algorithm out. Give us a comment, whatever. Let us know who you might want to hear from on In Retrospect next time. And you can support me on Patreon as well. If you're interested, there is a link in the description. Until next time, have a good one.
See ya.